Hi and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to our presentation. This presentation is a combination of Group Assignment 1 and Group Assignment 2. And the title is Interview of Competent Person and HIRAC UHA. And this presentation is presented for our beloved one and only lecturer, which is Madam Siti Faruza binti Hassam. So without further ado, let me introduce to you to my group members. Okay, now as you can see, this is our group members. We have 5. First one, we have our pretty Miss Siti Syamri Karwila. And second, we have our lovely Miss Haslidia Hafiza. And next, number 3, we have our beautiful Miss Wardina binti Khairuddin. And 4, we have our class monitor, which is Miss Raihan, smart person. And lastly, me, Muhammad Aiman Hakim bin Fazil, your handsome people. Right, so let's move on to the next slide.
Now, I will explain about the profile of the competent person. Our team had interviewed Mr. Muhammad Khairul bin Ibrahim, who is one of the competent persons identified on the official website of the Department of Occupational Safety and Health, DOSH. He is from Johor and has a diploma in Occupational Safety, Health and Environmental Management from Open University Malaysia or UM. Mr. Khairul works at UEM Sunrise Berhad as a Site Safety Officer. UEM Sunrise Berhad is one of Malaysia's leading property developers. It is the flagship company for township and property development businesses of UEM Group Berhad and Khazanah Nasional Berhad. UEM Group is wholly owned by Khazanah, an investment fund of the Government of Malaysia. They are specializing in macro township development, high-rise residential, commercial, retail and integrated developers, as well as property management and project and construction services. Mr. Khairul has 12 to 13 years of experience in the safety lines. The first 2 years of his career was in the oil and gas industry, and then he moved to the real estate industry for the next 10 years at the UEM Sunrise Berhad company.
Hi guys, we meet again. Okay, now I'm going to continue with Mr. Khairul experience in the industry. The first 2 years, Mr. Khairul started his career as a general worker in oil and gas industry. He has to do many works over there and he has to start from the bottom and making his way up. And at last, he got his promoted as an assistant project manager by doing topside model. So, and then he moved on to the real estate industry. And after he sees the OS officer linear the pole and order people, hey you do this, hey you do this, hey you do this. And after that, he have a liking to be an OS officer. So he got to study. So he study back in diploma to get the diploma on OS. And after that, he applied for OS officer at UEM Sunrise Berhad and he got it. So after that, he worked as an OS officer at the UEM Sunrise Berhad. And his job description, he has to deal with different kind of people, and he has to manage time to train the workers and also reporting to the OSHA people. So that's the experience of Mr. Khairul in the industry. Alright, I'm going to pass to the next member.
Thank you, Aiman. So now I will talk about Mr. Khairul's challenges as a competent person. There are many challenges faced by Mr. Khairul in his daily work. One of the challenges that he faces is to deal with people who work around him. This is because he needs to face a different kind of person's behavior in his workplace. As a safety officer, he has to make sure that all safety aspects in the site is safe to avoid any hazards which can lead to injuries and death. However, not all workers know the consequences of not following the instruction or regulations given. They are very stubborn and take the hazards and risks lightly. The next challenges faced by Mr. Hoyrul is when he has to deal with his company's management. According to him, his company usually prioritizes profitability rather than the workers' safety and health condition. It is said that the company sometimes force the labor to overwork and exceeds the limit of the workers' safety and health regulation. Especially when this pandemic strikes, the company sometimes abandons the order for the workers to go through quarantines, as they will be lacking a lot of human workforce in finishing the projects. However, this situation is really risky, making the other staff members will be easily affected. The company wants to survive, especially in this pandemic, by collecting as many profits as possible until it ignores the occupational safety and health regulations. Moving on, Mr. Koirul also commented that he has to deal with the ever-changing safety laws and regulation in this field. Sometimes, when there are fixed rules, the authority will constantly change them according to the number of accidents that happen. So, Mr. Hoyrul has to fully adapt to these situations and keep on reviewing them to the workers, which will cause a lot more ignorant people. He needs to relate and understand wholly the safety laws and regulations. This will cause the workers to feel heavy to follow, as it is always changeable all the time. However, he did mention that these challenges are the matters that made him strong up until today, and he believes he will keep fixing the flaws and make sure the safety regulation and laws are followed as smoothly as possible to avoid any risk happening. Lastly, Mr. Hoyrul also said that it is quite hard to meet compliance requirements when there is not enough time to train the workers. He best believes that the workers or even occupational safety and health officers themselves need to have adequate training to fully master the hazards and risks. However, even when the training has been gone through, some people just forget the skills and knowledge required, making them less competent to face these hazards and risks. When knowledge and skill have been forgotten, a lot of the workers do not know how to handle and even feel less aware of the risks that they might be facing. All in all, Mr. Hoyrul feels this is one of the hardest challenges he faced in his journey of him being an occupational safety and health officer. Now, I will pass this presentation to the next presenter.
In hazard identification is site clearing. The hazards for this activity is safety physical hazard, environment hazard, and biological hazard. This hazard can cause major injury, fatal, pollution, and erosion. And as for existing control, the first one is supervisor can check the workplace before the workers can carry out with the work. Next, all the work must be carried out supervised by senior supervisor, and the supervisor must always monitor the workplace safety to avoid any consequences. As for the recommendation for risk control, the company must clear the area of workplace from debris, bushes, and rubbish, and bring along the anti-snakes and scorpion material and pour on the ground area and the workplace to ensure the workers' safety. As we can see in this form, both of the hazard risk level are medium, which is 12. Moving on to the second job procedure, which is hot works and welding works. The hazard for this activity is exposed to fire, explosion, and smoke emission. These hazards may give fatal, major injury, and health effects to the workers. The existing risk control in this activity is the workers must wear PPE, respirators from head to feet, and have safety signage to avoid the consequences in workplace. In addition, for recommended risk control the company must install proper safety signage and prepare full set of PPE for the workers. So regarding to the hazards of this job, based on the likelihood and severity, the risk level of this job is 12, making it as medium level of risk.
So moving on to the next activity is the crane operating activities. So the hazards that can be identified through these activities include faulty lifting equipment and mechanical breakdown, which will affect or cause major injury, fatal, and even property damage. So the existing risk control to control this incident from happening is the crane must have valid CF and carry out daily inspection by designated person with a checklist. The recommendations to control the risk is schedule and ongoing maintenance to be carried out, and do not exceed 120 degrees square on sling during hoisting. So the likelihood for this incident to be happen is 4, the severity is 3, and the risk is 12, and the level of this work activity is medium. Moving on to the next work activity, it is the works below ground level. Basement or level activities include rebel works, form works, fabrication, consecrating, dismantling works, and masonry. So the hazards that can be identified through this kind of works include collapse of structure, hit by the object, trip and fall, slip and fall, or even the worst is a physical injury, which will affect or which will cause the person to be likely die, fatal, major injury, minor injury, or property damage. So the existing risk control to prevent these incidents include spreading awareness on safety to all workers through toolbox and safety briefing, check the place of work before asking the workers to carry out with the work, and the recommended control is continuously monitor the workplace safety, provide sufficient lighting and backup for working in the dark, and to check the construction materials before use. So the likelihood for these incidents to be happened in the level of 3, severity is 4, the risk is 12, and the level for the incidents to be happened is medium.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Haslidia Hafiza binti Abdul Halim Hafiz. I will present about mitigation plan. So, according to the Hazard Identification, Risk Analysis Review and Control (HIRAC) form, hot work and welding work activity are at the medium level with 3 ratings for likelihood, 4 ratings for severity, and 12 ratings for risk. The hazard included in this activity is exposed to fire, explosion, and smoke emissions. The effect that might occur because of the hazard is fatal, major injury, and health effects. This incident may influence the company's productivity since workplace accidents can have a psychological impact on employees' perceptions of the workplace, which can lead to inefficiencies in employee productivity. Furthermore, companies must cope with the financial effect of accidents, which imposes a variety of expenses on employers including medical expenditures, compensation costs, and additional supervisory costs. Besides, we use risk control to reduce the impact of risk on the company. The existing risk control involves safety signage. This is to ensure that employees are always aware of the current situation and use predefined signs at certain times. Another existing risk control for this job is first aid measures and fire extinguishers in a place. This is to take safeguards if anything unfavorable occurs in the workplace, such as a fire and personnel is wounded. The recommended risk control that can be implemented is to provide training and information. Thus, employees will be better understand the procedures set by the company and be able to do the job efficiently and correctly. In addition, to install proper safety signage to facilitate employees, superiors also need to ensure employees wear PPE protective clothing, face masks, and oxygen when doing work. This will further help prevent workers from suffering severe respiratory and injury. The second activity that also reaches a medium level with 12 rating risk is working below ground level. This activity has 5 hazards: the collapse of the building, being hit by things, tripping and falling, slipping and falling, and bodily harm. All these hazards can cause fatal, major injury, minor injury, and property damage. This will also cause productivity to be disrupted and the company's name will also be tarnished. Existing risk control in this activity is awareness of safety to all workers through toolbox and safety briefing. This is done to ensure that staff understands and can remind one another about workplace safety before beginning any task. Another existing risk control is to remind workers not to carry out the work in the dark. This will endanger the safety of other workers and make the work done ineffective. The recommended risk is to raise safety awareness among all workers using a toolbox and safety briefing. Supervisors should upgrade this from time to time so that employees are always sensitive to the safety of themselves and others. They should also provide sufficient lighting and backup for working in the dark, so even when it is dark, the employees can continue their work without interrupting any process and at the same time reduce the high risk to themselves. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Conclusively, the occupational safety and health field is said to be really vital for every company since years ago. It functions as a regulation in developing a safe working environment, thus increasing the profitability rate of a company. However, as important as it is, more obstacles needed to be gone through by Mr. Khairul to finish his job passionately. The challenges include dealing with a lot of behaviors, negative mindset, updating new regulations, and many more. Therefore, we best believe that working as an OSH officer is not an easy job to do. With the teachings from Mr. Khairul about how to fill in the HIRAC form, we strongly agree that the HIRAC form has been a great guidance and regulations to identify the risks, hazards, and come out with the very best possible solutions. It functions to determine the hazards identified at working places, the risks and or negative outcomes through the hazards, and give recommendations on the ways to prevent the incidents from happening again in the future. Mr. Khairul has taught us how to fill the form one by one, and we have learned a lot from it and would like to apply it in our future career life soon. This field thus needs to have much more advancements, especially when it comes to tolerating lots and variety of people's behavior. As mentioned by Encik Khairul, he said that his work becomes more challenging when the pandemic strikes in and hits his company. A lot of workers are being ignorant in following the SOP given, such as wearing face masks and social distancing, causing the likeliness to be affected really high. Few COVID-19 cases have been recorded, and this made most of the projects be delayed and lost a lot of profitability chances to survive. Therefore, advancements need to be developed as soon as possible, for these challenges and incidents would not be easy